So we left La Cruz this morning. We're about 32 miles to the west of Puerto Vallarta right now. About 8.8 miles of the southern point of Bahia Banderas. We're doing 4.85 knots around there in about 13 knots of apparent wind. The swells are rolly, big, large, well spaced. There's no chop. It's pretty damn near perfect. We're almost doing the angle that we need to reach Socorro directly. We're actually aiming a little bit more south than the archipelago, but I'm not too worried about that because I know the wind is gonna veer north, and as further out as we go in the ocean, the wind is gonna angle more and more north, and that's going to allow us to have a better angle towards the island. We'll end up with a beam reach towards the island. And if everything stays the way it is, we should be there in a bit more than 48 hours. Pissed off now because the autopilot is kind of not holding the heading that I'm asking it to hold. And it's got tons of move it could do to hold it. It just won't. So I'm kind of confused as to why this is happening. Like it needs to go this way and it's steering this way, which makes no sense. So I'm not sure why that's happening. But I'd like it to hold the heading that I'm asking it to hold, and for some reason it's not doing it for me. It's doing okay speed-wise. See, the rudder is straight right now, and actually right now, like it's almost wanting, see, I want it to go this way so that it goes downwind. It kind of does it now, but I don't know. It's behaving weirdly, so I'm going to say it that way. Just not that sharp. What I'm seeing now is it's just working hard. So we're kind of in tough conditions right now. So maybe later on I'll just put it more sideways, like put the wind more towards the back, and it's gonna behave better. Those waves are bad now. They're getting that. It's getting tough. The first 24 hours we've scored about 100 miles, which is not great, not bad. Given the circumstances, it was good. The wind was kind of light again, so just for the wind we had to run the engine again. All that to say that I burnt a little bit more fuel than I wanted to. I normally like to not burn any fuel, but sometimes you just have to. When the wind becomes too light and the boat just can't maintain a heading because of the slow speed we're going at in those waves, it's better to just run the engine slowly to give the boat some kind of a stability in the heading and stability with the wind in the sails also. So that's where we're at. We're about 190 miles away from our destination. We hope to be Socorro for a stop to shoot some sharks over there. At the pace we're going right now, with the winds that are forecasted to still not come from more abeam and keep us on a close reach, I'm expecting to have to spend another 2 nights offshore before we make it there. So that's kind of where things are right now. So it's about 5 o'clock in the morning, our third night offshore, and the wind shifted exactly at the time that it was supposed to shift. It veered north, and it's a bit lighter than it was earlier, which is kind of normal. It tends to be lighter in the morning. If we would have another 24 hour of that wind, we'd probably make Socorro on that does veer a bit west again, we'll have to make do with it and maybe motor a little bit to make it to our destination. We were sailing smoothly for a few hours. I was sleeping down below, Phil was maintaining watch, and at some point I felt an unwanted tack, so I just jumped on deck to see what was going on. Well, I'm not sure exactly what happened. We were tracking the wind, and the wind switched side, it basically tacked on us, and that was unwanted. I'm just trying to flip it back and go back to where we were, but we were just not going forward. So when you don't have any forward speed, then the rudder just doesn't have any sort of power on the sail. So I just picked up a little bit of speed this way, and hopefully I'm going to be able to. Nope, it's not going to let me. Yeah, maybe he will. That's just like sometimes when you track on the, like right now it was following not a heading, it was following an apparent wind angle, so it was set up on there. I was sleeping. Giving it some motor just so that there's a flow on the rudder. So right now it's gonna go a lot easier, just to put it back where it needs to be. Would that work? No, we're good. Offshore at least. Hopefully not more than that. I'm tired. I'm sitting at 200 miles away from it. So it's at least another night.
After this one?
Yep. And that's if the wind is good to us. Like right now we're heading too far south. And that's pretty much all we can do. But definitely we're going too far south, and I'd like to head more towards west, but right now the wind is just not allowing that. It's supposed to shift in about 12 hours, so as soon as it shifts, then we'll kind of know when the wind shifts and goes, it should shift completely north, and if it does that, then we got a nice abeam 9 degrees and straight in to Socorro. And we'll even need to fight and keep close reaching a little bit just to make sure we make it, because we'll be too further south there at that point. So it's hard to tell right now what's going to happen. It really depends on when that shift will happen and how far north it will shift by when. And when that happens, then we'll know for sure. Because that's gonna be the deciding factor right there. And of course, if it shifts again, then goes further west, then we're screwed. So the reason why I have the wind shifts and the wind direction and strength on my mind at that point is because Paradigm 2.0 is a small sailboat which has about a 300-mile range on one tank of fuel. Now that might seem like a lot, but you have to plan on keeping a reserve on that, and we need to accomplish a 500 to 600 miles trip. So we need to keep some fuel and preserve it, and the more we do, the more safe the trip is going to be, because we have more options later on. So I just downloaded another weather map. The software I use to download weather map is a suite called Ocens, particularly their app for iPad, which is called Grib Explorer Plus. I've used it for the last 3 years, and minus some very, very rare exceptions, it's very, very accurate. So, for example, tonight it was forecasted that the wind was going to switch about this morning in order to veer north a little, and it was kind of almost on time. Like, you gotta sometime give it an hour or two. You gotta remember that these forecasters are looking at a huge patch of the ocean when they do their forecast. But within an hour or two of what I had on my map, the wind actually switched north, and now it's allowing us to track 270, and we're right at the same latitude as the islands we want to go at. So I'm very happy with that. That's the wind that I needed. The next forecast is pretty much the same. I just re-downloaded a map. All this gets downloaded through the Iridium connection, and so it's an Iridium Go connection. It's kind of very, very low bandwidth, and you need a very efficient compression software in order to pass all that information. So this is the wind we had earlier today and yesterday. So about 10 knots. We had actually a bit more than that with the thermal effect we're still in later on. And you can see there's a kind of a big western component to it. So it's coming from northwest, and this is the wind we have now. So much more northern component, a bit stronger than what is forecasted is what we have, which I won't complain about because this is kind of light. And you can see that with this switch, it allows me to, instead of having to go deep south here in order to get a proper wind angle in my sail and against the waves, now I'm able to, the swells have changed, the wind has changed, and I'm able to track 270 comfortably towards Socorro and San Benedicto, which are our target right now. And that's all provided with data from Ocens. Now the map is much bigger than that. I'm looking at a map that goes from this place here in Mexico, which is about Acapulco or a bit north of Acapulco, and up to Alaska. And the reason why I'm looking at that is there's all kinds of critical things happening for us later in the trip. So right now you can see sort of a low pressure system forming here that's pushing the North Pacific high much more towards the north of Hawaii, and this will have some effect. And I'm trying to just sort of track the historic of that to know when we leave Socorro about what the weather has been doing and what the flow is going on, and what we can expect from there. Yeah, all that to say that if you head offshore, like I would seriously suggest you consider the combo of an Iridium Go and the Ocens software suite. It served me well, and it continues to do so.
This video was made possible thanks to our friends at Cloud19. If you appreciate content like this and want to be part of the Paradigm 2 adventure, support us on Patreon.